Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's session. So we're going to get started with a little bit of promotion real quick about some innovation awards. And want to make sure everybody is aware of an awesome opportunity for you to win one of 3 innovation award grants. This is where you get to work with some of our big innovation grant sponsors like Microsoft, MP Automate, and Sentinel Consulting, all for free to help you bring some of those big ideas to life and everything. So you will follow the QR code there if you want to go there, or you can go to blbk.co.innovationgrants. But we obviously recommend that you use the QR code that's on the screen. Applying is super easy. Just create a 2-minute or less video pitch about your project idea and submit that. Applications don't need to be polished or anything else like that, is what we're told. It doesn't have to be like a TED Talk or anything like that. So definitely don't be intimidated. But our past award winners have been surprised, usually to find out that theirs was accepted. So no idea is too great or too small. So if you have any kind of idea that you would like to bring to life within your organization using some of your Blackbaud software and all the technology available around that, we definitely recommend that you take a couple minutes to hit this link right here with the QR code and take advantage of this opportunity. So speaking of such award opportunities, this is a great segue for this session, because in this session, we're going to be talking to Cary Mayeda, who is from Providence, who is a past winner of an innovation award. And then he is joined by Ashley Moose from Blackbaud, who worked with Cary and Providence on their innovation project. So Cary and Ashley, I will pitch it over to you and let y'all take the ball from here.
Thanks, Kent.
Thanks, Kent.
And in order, let's see, Kent, are you able, or hang on, I think I can stop sharing that slide. There we go. And then I can share my screen here. All right. So today we are going to be talking about a past innovation award project that I had the pleasure of working on with Cary that we've kind of titled here the FENXT Batch Exporter. So my name is Ashley Moose. I've been at Blackbaud for 16 years, currently living in Butler, Tennessee, which is just in very, very northeast Tennessee. Cary, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Cary Mayeda. I'm with Providence. Been doing Blackbaud CRM for quite some time. I forgot to look that up. I think it's probably been 15 years or something like that. Enjoyed working with Ashley.
Thanks, Cary. So Cary's going to talk a little bit here about the problem space and what we what the initial use case or thing we were trying to solve with this innovation award, and then I'll go from there into a demo and talk a little bit more about the details of the project.
Ashley, I think we're just seeing PowerPoint. We're not seeing the actual presentation.
Oh, thank you. Let me try to reshare here. Okay, I'm just going to share my whole screen. So that should get us to the space that we need.
Yeah, that looks good.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so what were we trying to solve with this project? Providence's account system of record is Oracle. The philanthropy team uses FENXT. And so Blackbaud created a standalone automated customization for FENXT, which exports batches to post to Oracle. However, the automation did not fit the user's business processes and resulted in duplicate batches being posted to Oracle. The users therefore requested complete control over the timing and selection of which batches are exported. The users also specified that it would be preferable to have this functionality accessible within FENXT.
Great. Yeah. So with that being the case, we talked out then with Cary of like, what could we do to give the users that control so that they could actually have some kind of interactivity. And so what we decided on would be a Power App that would make the batches available to them, allow them to select the available ones, and then do some other little like one-off searches. So here we're just going to watch a quick video of that. So this is in as an add-in in FENXT. So it's just linked to the journal entry batches page. So from here, they're initially presented with a list of the available batches, although they do also have the ability to search for one-off batches. And then depending on what that is, they can either, send that for an approval or potentially search again. So here they are going to go ahead and send that for an approval. So if that batch ends up getting approved, then that would be included. And then the normal process, which is here, which is just selecting the ones from the list and choosing to add it to the post.gl file, which then presents users with an option to view a control report, also have that control report just linked as a main add-in to where they can see the details of all of those batches that have previously been sent into the post to Oracle process. And then from that, just another hyperlinking option to get back into that batch detail if needed. So with that, as you can see, there was a lot of things in there where we're also looking at sample data. So this isn't something that Providence has been able to deploy live yet, just due to a couple of different deployment issues. So right now, we are kind of missing that final user feedback, but it is coming. But they have seen it, they're happy with it. So at least want to talk to you and share with you all what is included. So we have the main batch selection page, which is just a Power App powered by a couple of different Power Automate flows. So initially a flow is coming in or running as soon as the app starts to bring in all the data. Anytime we're doing searches, that's kicking off another flow. And then when it actually goes to the add to post.gl file, that is going into another flow to be able to connect to the next pieces. With the approval, it's just using this available Microsoft Outlook send email with options action. And the options that we're given are just approve or reject. So we're just having a very basic look of this. This is how it's then presented back to them with an email. So if they say it's approved, then that's going to go into the normal process to go into that existing pro code customization. Or if they reject it, it's just not picked up. And then it'll kind of take the user back to that initial experience. And then the control report. So with this, as we were talking to the users, it became clear that needed a way to see what happened to the batches that were selected, because there are so many kind of different scenarios of what's going on behind the scenes. So after a batch is selected to be included in that post.gl process, has to get picked up by another Power Automate flow. That is then interacting with an Azure function that is linking into the existing customization in order to actually post this batch. But with that, there are many pieces where it could fail on a step after it was successfully included from that initial screen. So given that, wanted to build out some kind of control report for people to be able to see, like, okay, was it successfully sent to the post-to-GL process? Yes, but was it actually added? Maybe not. And then if there was an error, anything that can display those error details so that the user is empowered to be able to resolve those issues. Of all the components going in on the low code side here, I was thinking just a little while ago, probably should have done we should have like a low code and a pro code components because there's a lot more going on once it gets into that Azure function that's really on the pro code side. But so for the Power Apps, there are the two apps that we were just viewing that are both added as add-ins in FENXT. So one's going to allow someone to actually select the individual batches and then the control report. And then there's 5 Power Automate flows running behind the scenes to actually do the different pieces that we need. So whether processing the approvals, doing searches, or just getting that data initially into the app to view and select. There's one Azure function that Cary will be talking in more detail about. And then in order to use that Azure function, we had to have a custom connector. So that custom connector is something that Cary and his team worked on to get it in a way that we would be able to connect to with a Power Automate flow. And so then outside of that, our other connections are really just the one Blackbaud Sky add-ins action that's allowing us to get to all of the FE data. Also connecting to Microsoft Dataverse and then Outlook 365.
So we chose to encapsulate the export process within an Azure Function App. The reasons for this were the functionality required could not be performed directly within Power Apps, but the Power Platform can utilize Azure Functions. Also, a web app or web service was much more than we needed with unnecessary overhead, especially with the UI being handled within the Power App. Azure Functions follow a serverless model where resources are allocated dynamically based on demand. Azure Functions allow you to write less code and maintain less infrastructure. We were provided much of the .NET source code for the original customization. Supporting this to an Azure Function App was fairly straightforward. So how did we implement the Azure Function App? We created a custom connector in Power Platform to allow the Power Platform flow to call the function app. We coded this in C# since it is Microsoft's recommended .NET language for Azure Functions, although I have heard people have been able to use VB.NET as well with a minor workaround. We used .NET Core 8, and we were able to refactor all the business logic from the original customization. The original code was in VB.NET, so we just had to convert it to C#. We implemented services similar to Blackbaud's headless data sync example to manage tokens and Sky API calls for FENXT. If you're not familiar with that, I suggest you head over there and check it out. It's great sample code. We also utilized the Azure Key Vault for storing keys and refresh tokens. The Azure Key Vault can be used to securely store and tightly control access to tokens, passwords, certificates, API keys, and other secrets. Access to the Key Vault from Azure Functions is managed by creating an Azure Managed Service identity for the Azure function and adding an access policy on the Key Vault for that identity. This simplifies the usage of keys and secrets by allowing us to securely connect to the Key Vault from the Azure function without using API keys. We also utilized Azure Blob Storage for the export files. Azure Blob Storage is Microsoft's object storage solution for the cloud, and it's optimized for storing massive amounts of unstructured data. And it can be accessed by the Power Platform, Azure Data Factory, Azure Storage, the Azure Storage REST API, SFTP, and direct access to the container. Azure Blob Storage also allows events to be triggered, events to be triggers. So creating a file inside the container will actually trigger a flow in Power Platform or Azure Data Factory. Access to blob storage from the Azure function is managed in the same way as with key vaults. We are currently implementing Microsoft's HTTP resilience package, which is based on Poly to make the Sky API calls more resilient. According to Microsoft, resiliency is the ability to recover from failures and to continue to function. It isn't about avoiding failures, but accepting the fact that failures will happen and responding to them in a way that avoids downtime or data loss. The goal of resiliency is to return the application to a fully functioning state after a failure. So things like network latency, connectivity issues, resource throttling, and a whole host of other issues can cause exceptions when calling a REST API. Since these are usually transient in nature and oftentimes correct themselves automatically, we can create a retry strategy that takes these errors into account. For instance, you can set a jitter strategy which waits 1 second to retry subsequent calls until either the API call succeeds or we reach a max time limit. It also creates an exponentially increased delay between the calls. So in addition to creating resiliency, the jitter strategy also helps to mitigate the impact of the retries upon a resource already under high contention. Resiliency allows our service to continue executing when the issue is resolved. Without implementing resilient API calls, the function app would fail immediately if any of these issues occurred, forcing the user to export the batch again. Utilizing the framework simplifies our code. We could write the retry logic from scratch in all our services. It's not really that difficult. But utilizing the framework makes this an easy service configuration and makes our code much more readable.
All right,
To our
thanks, Cary.
challenges.
Yeah, and then so with the we had a few different challenges. Initially, kind of on my end when I was just getting the app to load up and everything. One of the first things that we identified were the total credit and total debit values. We're just taking a lot of time to have Power Automate be able to calculate those for the overall number of batches that we were loading on the screen each time. So through some shared feedback from Cary and the Providence team, went out to the product team here and shared the use case as to why it would make sense to have that available in the existing list batches endpoint. And so it took a little, maybe a few months from when we had started, but eventually that did become available and really helped that a lot of that initial performance load time. So, Cary, did you want to talk a little about the licensing and the other challenges with working with Azure and the Power Platform?
Sure. Ben, thanks for the question, and here's your answer. We required a premium license for the Power Platform because it's required for the custom connectors, which we're using to connect to the Function app and then the Blackbaud connectors as well. One of the other challenges that we had to deal with was the granularity of access policies for the Power Platform isn't quite as granular as the Logic apps within Azure. So this took a bit to determine how we could limit access to the function with a private endpoint, and then finding the Azure connector service tag to limit that traffic as well. But all in all, I think it went pretty well, and Ashley, again, did a great job on creating the Power Automate side of things and working with the team to make this process work well for them.
Well, thanks, Cary. It was a pleasure working with all of you. Any other questions? Yes. So there was the same license. So the premium license is needed for all of the users running the Power app due to both the custom connector and the Blackbaud connectors. We could have probably gotten away with not using the Blackbaud connectors and having the data kind of move out to like an intermediary place and have another Power Automate flow running that was moving the data to like a SharePoint list, and then just pulling off of that. Wouldn't have been quite in real time, but it still would have worked. But a custom connector is going to have to be there and be connected anytime someone's wanting to submit that batch. So that does require that premium license for all the users interacting with it.
Anything else? All right. You can give it another minute or two, see if anybody has any questions. I know sometimes people get shy. They don't want to ask what comes across as a dumb question, but hopefully it's been stressed at this point in BB Dev Days. There's no dumb question at BB Dev Days at all.
We all had them at one point.
Yes. I had to text a teammate a while ago while y'all were talking that y'all might as well have been talking whale cries. For me, I kind of got lost after the intros, but obviously this isn't an area where I typically work at Blackbaud. So, what's the full message on my shirt? Not all who wander are lost. And so this is from BB Dev Days last year. So we're in my BB Dev Days swag. I just realized my camera is flipped backwards, and I even brought that up in the meetings when we were getting ready for these. So
no, it looks right to us.
Oh, it does to you. Okay.
Yeah.
It's mirrored for me or whatever. So, okay. All right. Well, I guess we'll give y'all a little bit of time back before your next session. I am going to launch a survey as soon as I might as well launch this now so you can complete that. And if you will, just complete that survey. It's just 4 simple questions. Hopefully you've been completing these for other sessions as well. But Cary and Ashley, thank you so much for your time today and for the great content and the Innovation Award example. And so hopefully other people will take this as an opportunity, an idea to maybe try to bring something forward and get their project worked on, and we'll kind of showcase them next year. So thank you both for your time today.
Thanks, Kent. Thanks for everyone for joining.
All right.
Thanks, Kent. Thanks, Ashley. Thanks, everyone.